Something I find kind of laughable about being neurodivergent, but essentially true, is that any form of uncertainty is nightmare fuel for me. Even leaving my house, even getting in my car and driving somewhere, even going to a situation where I might have to encounter unknowns or talk to people I don't know. These are all potential triggers for anxiety and for stress and for spiraling into a sense of helplessness and fear and preoccupation and perseverative thinking. As a neurodivergent, it is endless. The amount of things, the variables that can trigger my anxiety. And that anxiety becomes often all-consuming. It's bodily. It's often, I'm not even consciously thinking about it, but my whole body is queued up in anticipation of something going wrong. I start engaging that three-step process of perseverative thinking, of worrying about the future, ruminating about the past, and obsessing. And at the end of the day, I want to live in a very small box and never come out of that box, because I know that any factor outside of that box could potentially trigger the anxiety. I like to believe I'm a very resilient person, that I take control of my life and I don't lay responsibility for anything at anybody else's feet. I like to believe that I'm not a wilting daisy, that I have some kind of fortitude. I think my life up to this point is testament to that. I've gone through many struggles and hardships and had many experiences and challenged myself and done a lot of things more than what the average person would do, which required some ability to overcome those anxieties and push past them. And I found that actually, if something makes me feel anxious, I usually force myself to do it so that I can overcome the anxiety. It's a form of exposure therapy, because I realize that the anxiety is never going to go away. It is something that we live with as neurodivergents. A lot of the time, high percentages of us have co-occurring anxiety or anxiety disorders, and these can be across our lifetime. Realistically speaking, they aren't going to just resolve spontaneously. Maybe I can build my tolerance to the extent that it's not as acute and isn't so limiting or constricting to my life. And my method has always been, if I don't know something, if something makes me feel uncomfortable, if it's outside of my comfort zone or it provokes anxiety, maybe it's something I should lean into a little bit. I should put myself in that situation. I shouldn't talk to that person. I should try that activity. Even if I know that it's not going to necessarily be successful, that it's going to be an unpleasant experience, that I might not even enjoy it, I might give it a shot. Not everything. You have to be selective about what you're willing to try and not try, but just giving it a shot with the understanding that pushing yourself out of this comfort zone is probably, over time, going to habituate you to tolerating things that aren't comfortable. Will they ever completely flip and become 100% comfortable? No. But for example, public speaking was always very uncomfortable for me. I find that my words get jumbled when I'm trying to speak. My brain goes faster than my mouth can. I triple over my words. I don't know how to necessarily use the bodily expression. Like I'm using hand gestures now, and I've learned how to do this, and to use facial expressions in different tone. I've kind of gone and pushed myself to get experiences to make that a little bit more comfortable, but it's still a little bit discombobulating going out in front of people and speaking about something, because I'm hyper-conscious because of social anxiety that I'm going to say or do the wrong thing, that I'm going to stumble over my words and become self-conscious, and then it becomes even worse. I start stumbling even more, and this loop ensues. I knew that I had to push through and put myself out there so that I could get a bit of exposure to this, so that it wasn't so nerve-wracking, and it was something I had relative comfort with. That took a lot of time, and that took a lot of persistence. I stuck with it because I knew that was something that would be important for me in my career moving forward, being able to do public speaking, being able to express myself in a coherent way without getting self-conscious, without having crippling social anxiety. And in that case, the exposure therapy that I did by myself worked. And I found that little by little, that box I live in expands a little bit more. The circles in which I move expand, and I start to have more experiences. The anxiety, again, does not go away, but maybe it decreases to the extent it is tolerable, and I can live with it. Have you found that you experience this crippling anxiety that makes it hard for you to deal with any kind of situation that provokes or involves uncertainty and then provokes anxiety? I know it's a universal challenge. I would love to hear all about your experiences and maybe how you found navigating that, strategies that have been helpful for decreasing the anxiety, for building your tolerance. I would love to hear all about your experiences and what has worked for you.